And Mr. Speaker, sir, this is now an improvement, even a further improvement
Senator
on
Oburu,
that concept, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Oburu, there is no Speaker, sir, here.
There's no?
There is Madam Speaker. There is no Speaker,
Madam
sir, on the chair right now.
Yes, there's a change. Oh, Madam, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Madam, I'm so sorry. I did not notice
Apology accepted.
The change, and I'm deeply apologetic to that. So, Madam Speaker, this concept has now further been improved, and it is now being formalized. These primary health workers, which are the community, at the community level, are now going to be formally employed, and they are going to have some little qualification to take care of our mothers and our fathers and our children at that primary level. And Madam Speaker, this is a very, very great feat, and it is a great achievement for our country. It is a big step forward, and I hope that our people will embrace it and now improve provision of services to our people at that level. Madam Speaker, some of us who grew up in the village, we were recognizing even we had traditional birth attendants, those who are giving mothers, who are attending to mothers who are giving birth right in the village. And they knew what to do.
I can see your time is up, and though I appreciate that those who are raised in the village tend to have a very deep sense of pride in their way of life, their way of food, their way of culture, I will give you 1 minute, because I also grew up in the village, to hear that story.
So, Madam Speaker, we used to recognize even the clinical officers or just dressers, people who are dressing wounds in the village as doctors. We used to call them doctors. But Madam Speaker, now we are having people who have at least some primary training in health care, and they are going to to care for our mothers and children at that primary level. And this is a good improvement, and I support it, Madam Speaker. And with those many or few words, I beg to support. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Senator Oburu. Our youth leader, Senator Wakoli, you're next.
Thank you. Asante sana, Speaker, kwa nafasi hii. Vile vile ningependa, kwa sababu majira ya asubuhi kiongozi wangu wa chama katika wadi alikuwa nakutana ama alikuwa na kikao na madaktari mashinani hawa, Mheshimiwa Speaker, katika wadi ya Tuti Marakaru leo asubuhi. Na niliwahakikishia kwamba katika jumba la Senate sitasinzia, sitalala, na nitazungumza kwa niaba yao kuwatetea. Na nina furaha gaya mpito jioni ya leo kuambia Wakenya kwamba serikali ya Kenya Kwanza, ambayo mimi ni kiranja wa wengi katika jumba hili la Senate, katika bajeti imewekea bilioni 3.23 kwa hawa madaktari mashinani, na hizi ni fedha ambazo tuna uhakika nazo, na ni kuambia kwamba tutashinikiza magavana wanapopitisha bajeti zao muda mchache kutoka sasa, wahakikishe pia wao wanatangaza wazi fedha za madaktari mashinani hawa, kwa sababu katika kaunti yangu, Mheshimiwa Speaker, miezi 5 sasa hawajalipwa pesa zao. na huku Mheshimiwa Rais akienda vijijini, wao ndio wa kwanza kunyosha vidole viwili, Mheshimiwa Spika, kumtukuza Mheshimiwa Rais, lakini madaktari mashinani wanaumia. Mheshimiwa Spika, kule Bungoma madaktari mashinani ni 3590 na wao wanahudumia mmoja wao kila boma 100. Hii inaashiria kwamba wao pia wana uwezo wa kueneza amani, mustakabali mwema katika jamii. Hapa katika bajeti hii ya bilioni 3.23 Bungoma inaenda kupata milioni 107 na 1400, Mheshimiwa Spika. Hizi ni fedha ambazo madaktari mashinani wa Bungoma lazima ujivunie kwamba sisi kama serikali ama viongozi wa wengi na viongozi katika Kenya Kwanza tumeweka kwenye bajeti pesa zenu, na hizi pesa zitakuja katika account zenu bila kupitia wale ambao tunasema mabroka katika lugha asili kule mashinani. Sasa mimi Mheshimiwa Spika ni kushukuru serikali, kushukuru daktari mashinani katika kazi nzuri ambayo wanafanya kutibu watu, kuwapa mawaidha, kuhakikisha kwamba wanawapa matumaini wagonjwa, na vile vile kuhakikisha kwamba katika mashinani afya inaendelea kudumu. Changamoto tu, na ningependa kurudia, magavana wahakikishe bajeti wanazopitisha zao ziwe na fedha za madaktari hawa. Isiwe kwamba sisi kama jumba la Senate na serikali ya Nairobi zinalipa pesa, lakini magavana ni kuwayumbisha tu, kuwachezea karata, kuwatishatisha wanapoitisha mshahara, kuambia kwamba tutawafuga. Na kuungana na hoja ya Mheshimiwa Aaron Cheriot kwamba tunataka kusonga mbele, wawe pia na stakabadhi ambazo watakuwa wanajua wameandikwa kazi na mshahara ni pesa fulani, na kama kuna shida kati yao na mwajiri watatumia mbinu zipi kutatua. Isiwe tu kwamba wanafanya kazi kwa huruma ya mtu fulani kwa sababu yeye ni gavana ama mtu ni waziri, lakini kuwe na mfumo mahususi ambao watasajiliwa, watafanyiwa watafunzwa, watapata utaalamu wa kutosha ili waendeleze agenda hii. Sasa kwa niaba ya watu wa Bungoma, madaktari mashinani wa Bungoma, hapa nimewasomea milioni 107,400 takriban ambazo ziko katika bajeti ya serikali ya Kenya, na nitakapokuja nyumbani nitapambana na gavana kuhakikisha kwamba pesa zenu zinaonekana na mnalipwa wakati unaostahili. Asante Mheshimiwa Spika, na watakia kila laheri wa Kenya katika wikendi ambayo tunajitosa ndani kutoka leo. Asante Mheshimiwa Spika.
Thank you, Senator Wakoli. Senator Ole Kina.
Madam Speaker, thank you for giving me an opportunity to make some brief, albeit insightful comments on this bill. Mr. Speaker, Madam Speaker, the committee health workers out in Kenya have blamed the Senate for delaying this bill. I'm looking at the committee report, and it's quite baffling. The committee which I sit in, unfortunately I didn't participate on that particular day, recommended that this bill should not proceed. There is some controversy which I hope we can be able to clear so that we can be able to move with this bill. Madam Speaker, with that in mind as a disclaimer for my contribution, I want to be very objective in noting the controversy in this bill, which sometimes it is important to be bold enough and say there is a controversy, but nothing stops us from working around it. Madam Speaker, if you look at what this bill is meant to provide, those who do not want this bill to proceed have indicated clearly that this bill, other pieces of legislation, like the Community Health Bill of 2020, provide exactly what we want. The Kenya Community Health Strategy, which is 2020-2025, which already establishes the community health units. I guess the difference between this bill, and it's important that we look at this bill from a community and a humanitarian perspective, is that for once, those people who have been in the front line of providing health to Kenyans are going to be recognized. To demystify my many words, is that they are now going to be added into the payroll of Kenya. So once we pass this bill, I know we have about 107,000 community health workers. Many of them have not been paid. I believe for 29 months, these community health workers have not been paid. Each community health worker is owed a minimum of 72,500 shillings. In Embu alone, Madam Speaker, the community health workers in Embu are owed 7.8 million shillings. In fact, that led to recent street protests where the community health workers were protesting, wanting to be paid. In the neighboring county of Kajiado, there are so many community health workers who have not been paid. So the biggest question for us to be able to deal with today, Madam Speaker, is this bill necessary? Absolutely. Is it important? Yes, it is important because we will now formally recognize these unsung heroes who have been there to protect our healthcare. And it is a way, Madam Speaker, of extending the universal health coverage in the country. But how are we going to deal with the issues that have been raised in terms of our recurrent expenditures? This is when, Madam Speaker, all of us have got to be alive to the fact that our recurrent budget in county governments, as well as national government, is going to be bloated. We will have 107,000 more Kenyans who will now be employed permanently, pensionable. So those are questions that we must ask and say, are we able to deal with that? I think it will be important for the majority leader to sit with the Committee of Health and request that the recommendation given by the committee that this bill should not proceed to be removed. And I'm happy to support that. So, because of time, and I can see time is running, Madam Speaker, I just want to reiterate that the importance of this bill is nothing but the formal recognition of these very, very critical health workers. Formal recognition, formal employment. And when we now finally pass this bill, Madam Speaker, we should be ready for the unintended consequences, whereby there will be minimum wage requirements, because you cannot employ somebody and pay them 2,500 shillings. Yet, here in Nairobi now, even your domestic workers will have to be paid a minimum of 18,000 shillings. So, Madam Speaker, those are things that we must be able to really deal with. But is it important? Yes. It means that all those workers who have been working voluntarily will now be formally employed, formal employment. And that is a step in the right direction, and it's going to help this country. But we also have to think about where do we get more taxes to be able to pay for.
Time up. Senator Chute.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, when I spoke earlier, I talked about community health promoters, and I talked about the delay of the stipend. But now, looking at the budget that's being read, I want to thank the Kenya Kwanza government for, on top of this bill being proposed, before I talk about the bill, allow me to talk about 296 First of all, let me not talk about the issue of the 296. Let me talk about the monies in this budget, which is 3.2 billion for community health promoters, Madam Speaker. And on top of the 3.2 billion, 396 extra amount of money is going to medical insurance for the community health promoters. Madam Speaker, this budget has touched on the issue of community health promoters. And that is what we were discussing this morning. We are talking about delays in payment. And let me now go to medical training colleges. In the budget, I think most of the constituencies, almost 296, are going to get medical training colleges. Why is this very important, Honorable Speaker? And I want to thank our government, the Kenya Kwanza government, and even the President, for even allowing to have in every constituency at least one or even two medical training colleges. Why is it very important, Madam Speaker? We have girls who are locally based at places like Marsabit. They've never gone to past Isiolo. They've been in the local village and in primary schools and secondary schools. Once they go to our nearest medical training college is in Isiolo. Now we have in Marsabit Saku constituency. And when they were going to Meru and Isiolo, it is something new to them. And for a girl to go to leave their family with our culture, going to Meru and Isiolo is not a good practice. So let me thank the government for that. Let me come back to the bill. This Community Health Promoters Bill 2022, this is a bill that came from the National Assembly, Bill number 53 of 2022. I want to say, Madam Speaker, something very, very important. If having this bill and having establishment of functions and powers of Community Health Promoters Council, this council will be a very important bill for this country. They will be managing issues of community health, and that is what we are lacking for many, many years. I want to refer to something very important. In the composition of the members of this amendment bill, we'll be having one council, a director general for health, or a representative. That is number one. Number two, one person from non-governmental organization, which is very, very important because non-governmental organizations are having pool of many, many organizations coming together and appointing one person, and that is number two. Number three, one person nominated by the public health officers and technicians council. These are the people who will be bringing brains and experience to this board. Another two persons with knowledge and experience in matters of community health appointed by the cabinet secretary. And the two most important things. There are two persons. One shall be a county chief officer of health with knowledge, Madam Speaker, with knowledge and experience in matters of community health. Very, very important. And this one also should be nominated by the county governors. Of course, that one is
thank you. I think there are no more senators willing to contribute to this motion. So we are done with that part. And we will stand down that order pending the mover to reply to be listed in the next session. That could be next week. So you may call the next order, clerk, please.
Order number 23, motion Consideration of the reports of the Select Committee on Delegated Legislation on its consideration of the Traffic School Transport Rules 2026, Legal Notice number 11 of 2026, the Traffic Motor Vehicle Inspection Rules 2026, Legal Notice number 13 of 2026, and the National Transport and Safety Authority Operational and Commercial Vehicles Regulations 2026, Legal Notice number 14 of 2026.
Senator Danson Mungatana.
Madam Speaker, I want to thank you very much for giving me the floor. Madam Speaker, I wish to move that the Senate adopts the reports of the Select Committee on Delegated Legislation on its consideration of the Traffic School Transport Rules 2026, Legal Notice number 11 of 2026, the Traffic Motor Vehicle Inspection Rules 2026, Legal Notice number 13 of 2026, and 3, the National Transport and Safety Authority Operation of Commercial Vehicles Regulations 2026, Legal Notice number 14 of 2026, laid on the table of the Senate on Wednesday, 10th June 2026, and that pursuant to Section 18 of the Statutory Instruments Act, the Senate resolves to annul the Traffic School Transport Rules 2026, Legal Notice number 11 of 2026, the Traffic Motor Vehicle Inspection Rules 2026, Legal Notice number 13 of 2026, and the National Transport and Safety Authority Operation of Commercial Vehicles Regulations 2026, Legal Notice number 14 of 2026. Madam Speaker, I don't want to take long, and I want Kenyans listening to me that the National Transport and Safety Authority, NTSA, brought us several regulations. Now, we passed some, but these 3 we rejected, and we are asking the Senate to reject these particular 3 regulations. And my colleagues will have an opportunity to contribute, so I will be brief. But I will give you one reason why we must reject or annul the Traffic in brackets School Transport Rules 2026, Legal Notice number 11 of 2026. And I will give you only that one reason. They are saying in that legal notice, and we took issues with particularly rule number 13, that we must, all school buses must reflectionarize all the signals, and then they must have standard mechanical signal arms. So all school vehicles now, school buses, and you know what? When we ask these people, NTSA, how do you want us to do this? They said, you know, it's important, we need to have these mechanical, so that if a bus is going to pass this way, there has got to be like a hand, a mechanical hand that will, so all the school buses must be fitted with that. Then they said, all the school buses, they must have telematic systems. They must have cameras facing the systems. That is Regulation 14. Madam Speakers, all the schools in Kenya, including the ones in Tana River County, the private schools that are carrying children, the high schools that have, they must now have telematic systems, Madam Speaker. Then we ask these people, when do you want us to have this thing done? 1st of July, 2026, Madam Speaker. 1st of July. What is the date today? 11th of June. So we have 12 days. All the schools in Kenya, all the
you know, from which county to, and every county at least has some schools that have buses, telematic systems, cameras. Madam Speaker, for us, we see this is a rent-seeking opportunity. If we leave these regulations to pass, and I hope my colleagues who are listening to me online, because I know senators are paying attention to this, all of these schools will have to pay bribes, Mr. Speaker, Madam Speaker. This is clearly a way of collecting money from schools. And you know, Madam Speaker, already we have regulations under the Education Ministry that are saying school buses, you may travel from this time to this time. School buses do this. Now, they are putting in these new regulations a requirement for licenses, again, for all school buses. Madam Speaker, this Senate must disagree. We must not allow this. We must not. We must fight for our people. NTSA cannot make regulations that are going to make it impossible for schools to take children to school. Look at the chaos that is going to be in school from 1st of January, July 2026. And I told these people, and we talked, the Senate Delegated Legislation Committee colleagues spoke to these people, withdraw these things, withdraw these regulations, give it time, let people understand, let schools understand. Nothing doing. Madam Speaker, we cannot allow this. We cannot. And that's why we have come today to say, Senate, reject these things. Madam Speaker, apart from that, these regulations, you know when they did the public participation? A long time ago, Madam Speaker. 2014 is when they did 2024 is when they did public participation. And that public participation, Madam Speaker, did not comply with the standards that we give. They did not give notice the way it is required. And Senate cannot allow this to happen. We cannot allow this. And even stakeholders, you know, Madam Speaker, we had to call the private operators of schools to come, the stakeholders. They said they didn't know about this. So, Madam Speaker, that is the one reason, and I know my colleagues will talk about the regulations affecting the schools. What about the regulations affecting motor vehicle inspection? I'll also give only one reason why we reject it. Do you know, right now, it's only when you have a traffic accident, that's when your private vehicle is taken now for inspection. When you have an accident, unfortunately, that's when your private vehicle will be taken for inspection. But, Madam Speaker, can you imagine, now they are saying, all of us, you know, even if you are not operating a government vehicle, a commercial vehicle, you are not operating a bus, if you are operating your own little car, your own small vehicle, you are now required every year to go for inspection. Inspection. And Madam Speaker, I asked, and we asked the Senate, we asked, Jameni, how do you want us to do this? We don't have enough inspection centers in this country. And then you want us this to be effective 1st of July, Madam Speaker. Just a few days from today. It is not right. The Senate must not agree to pass. So, I am urging, and I have so much to say, and I'm feeling very bad that NTSA has taken the law-making power that we gave them to just create regulations that are going to be so bad to all Kenyans. Madam Speaker, can you imagine, even without going outside Nairobi, now Nairobi, all of you who have vehicles are supposed to go and queue at centers which are not sufficient right now, pay some money to NTSA, pay some money to people they will appoint, and you have your vehicle inspected. How long will that take? And if you don't have that sticker from NTSA, they are going to arrest you, arrest your daughter, arrest your wife, whatever people, your mother, your father, whoever has a car, when they are coming from work, and demand that they have that sticker. Madam Speaker, we cannot allow this. We must not allow this. Senate must put down its feet, protect the people of Kenya by annulling these regulations. And NTSA must be told, you are not the Senate of this republic. You don't have power to make laws. You are not the National Assembly. You are not a county assembly. You cannot make regulations that are so oppressive. And when we tell you withdraw, give it transition, you don't want. No. So I'm urging colleagues that this is one thing that we have to all unite and pass. We defeat these regulations. They must bring reasonable regulations. I have a lot to say, but I want to stop there because of time. Madam Speaker, I beg to move. Thank you.
Who is seconding?
I am asking the Honorable Manzo, who is a member of our committee, to also second, because he sat there in those meetings and he knows what we did there. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Senator Manzo, please.
Yes, Madam Speaker, I want to say that these regulations, first and foremost, did not comply with the law. What NTSA, which has delegated power from Parliament, is asking us to give it further delegated power so that it will have a power to appoint inspectors who are not government agents. And therefore, we also asked them if they could then withdraw and republish the regulations so that they could comply and give them a timeline, Madam Speaker. They were not willing, well, eventually they said they are willing to withdraw, but we have not seen any sign. They are just hoping 1st of July will come, a fluctuation of time will happen, and these regulations will become law. So what we are saying, because they have not followed the law, they have not done proper public participation. All they did was to go into a capture meeting, talk to primary school teachers in Mombasa. Most of them don't have school buses. Most of them don't have cars. And probably did not, they were on their agenda. They didn't understand what exactly NTSA was up to. Therefore, public participation also failed. And before us, Madam Speaker, we are saying these 3 regulations. There were no regulations before the Senate, and therefore must be annulled. Madam Speaker, I second.
Thank you. Thank you, Senator. Honourable Senators, I propose the question that the Senate adopts the report of the Select Committee on delegated legislation on its consideration